Our top story at this hour is something which will impact lakhs and lakhs of students across India. Is it good or bad for them? Let's straight away dive into it, considering India had always stands with the students' community. The UGC has announced that all central universities will have to admit students to undergraduate courses based on the Common University Entrance Test or CUET, which is not based on class 12 marks. This rule shall come into force from the upcoming academic year, which is 2022-2023. The UGC also added that it shall be mandatory for the 45 central universities to adopt CUET for admission to their undergraduate courses. The mandatory common entrance test for 45 central universities will be held in the first week of July by the National Test Agency or NTA. The examinations shall be conducted in 13 Indian languages including English, Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati, Tamil, Telugu and Kannada. Let's understand what this really means. Will it have an impact on the learning quotient of students, considering we all had a kind of paranoia of class 12 exams, and now that they are not going to be considered mandatory, how does this pan out? To speak more on the matter, I'm delighted to be joined by Braj Gupta, who is an educationist and also chief mentor of Giant Step Bengaluru in Karnataka, and also Dr. K. Maran, who is an educationist in Chennai. Mr. Kishore, a very, very warm welcome to you. Namaskar. How are you doing today? Braj Gupta ji.
Thank you. Thank you very much for taking up an issue which is of great relevance.
Yes.
And thank you for inviting me on this important platform.
It's a pleasure, sir. So tell me something. What is your first reaction? A common entrance examination, CUET, for all the 45 central universities. Let's look at the advantages and the disadvantages. First, please start, Mr. Gupta, with how is it going to help the children?
I call it an important step towards the democratization of education. Education must not be confined only to the elite class. If you have a look at the education system in India, here parents have the opportunity to send their children to different institutions. But with this test, it will also be a step towards uniting the people, uniting the children, point one. Point two, in the past, undue importance and significance was given to marks. And as a result, stress was there among the students as well as the parents. So what I feel, this step is definitely an important one, considering the stress factor both among the students and the parents, point one. Point two, let us understand today is an age of multiple intelligence.
Right.
Gone are the days when we could depend exclusively on memory. So this is also a very important step towards taking into consideration new findings in the field of education and bring the children on a common platform.
Right. But you know, Mr. Gupta, considering that India is a channel which focuses majorly on the southern states, there is an ongoing battle between particularly Tamil Nadu, and now ex-Chief Minister of Karnataka, H.D. Kumaraswamy, has also spoken against NEET. They had, the slugfest is about bringing higher education into the state's list and not the concurrent list. And their contention being that education is something which is dovetailed into the cultural and social milieu of any state. India is a combination of states, right? So perhaps a child who is studying in New Delhi can afford a tuition class and to sit for the common entrance exam and perhaps ace it. But the same, his peer or his contemporary, let us say in Pudukkottai in Chennai, may not be able to do it. So don't you think there is not a level playing field when we think about that particular aspect, Mr. Gupta?
Well, those concerns appear to be well-founded, but let's understand that education is also about culture, and culture is not to be seen only confined to a particular state. Culture also includes absorbing value system, and when we talk about value system, when we talk about ethics, they must be pan-India. We cannot see values being confined to a particular state, be it Tamil Nadu or be it Bihar. So we have to revisit the very objective of education. Yes, people may have the fear that it is an attempt by the center to take away a couple of rights and privileges of the state, but those fears are not sound enough. Point one. Point two, in this test, common entrance test, we do not have restrictions on languages. Number two, you were referring to rural part of Tamil Nadu. Here in this test, basic knowledge of computer is enough to appear and write, and the mode of the test has been kept objective. And therefore, I see this is a very important step which will help the students in the long run.
Right.
Initially,
Now,
the fear can be there, and fear will definitely be there because anything that is new definitely brings a lot of fear and apprehension among the parents and the teachers.
Mr. Braj Gupta, the third question is about learning. And I think that is very, very important. We cannot possibly become, products of, learning by rote and perhaps acing entrance examinations. It is a skill, by the way, to do that. I know of several people who fail the entrance examination, but may have learnt brilliantly well in school and also have other talents. I'm going to ask you, if there are no class 12 examination, because let's understand, Mr. Gupta, that these children are trained in pre-board, starting from class 10, 11, that you have to ace class 12. Don't you think there will be a lack of interest completely कि अब तो क्या फर्क पड़ता है? Class 12 के examination तो eligibility criteria ही है, तो why should we even learn? Don't you think it will majorly impact the learning process of a young adult?
That's a very positive sign. See, what happens, we get addicted to a particular system. Change is the most desirable. Education is not about learning facts. It is not the data feeding. Because today, education has been redefined. We had the monopoly, teachers, universities had the monopoly of education. But in today's change scenario, education is not only about preparing for an exam, it is also about preparing an outlook. And that entails that there has to be an adaptability. Children should be mentored in a manner that they are willing to take up any role. So we have to revisit the very objective of education. And I think this is a very welcome step. Initial fear and apprehensions are understandable. So the onus now lies on the government to dispel all such doubts by communicating effectively the long-term gains of the common entrance test.
Yeah, also Mr. Gupta, I want to, bring your notice to a reality which is rather grim. For the past 3 years, we've been living, amidst the pandemic. And India has done several stories about how certain states, for instance, Tamil Nadu, Telangana, they have the internet connectivity or the penetration is so low in schools. I mean, they have installed computers everywhere. There could be 800 computers, let's say, in Tamil Nadu, but only, let us say, 18% internet connectivity. The same goes for Telangana. Now, these exams will be based on, it's all, you have to go through the computer. There will be multiple choice, right? No marks will be given for a wrong answer. It is actually testing your skill at thinking and speed and also thinking on your feet, which is very good. That's what we require. But jab there is no computer connectivity at all, when most children in this country do not have smartphones, don't you think they'll be disadvantaged majorly by this?
See, the concern raised by you is definitely very genuine. It is for the government, it is for the educational institutions to ensure that there are basic infrastructure in place. Unless and until that is done or that is taken care of, definitely it could be very dangerous to have a system. But I'm sure and I'm confident that the government will be well aware of these challenges.
Right.
Since they are not challenges, they are the very, very genuine issues which you are referring to. We cannot get carried away by emotions and the future outcome. We have got to be very realistic, and the issues raised by you are definitely realistic ones.
Right.
And I definitely agree with you.
Mr. Gupta, please, thank you for your patience. Mr. Gupta, you heard what Dr. Maran said, who's also an educationist. And I'm talking, like I said, education cannot be removed from the cultural and economic milieu of where you are. You know,
Let's
I
let's
may have
let's
studied. So therefore, for the particularly the Tamil Nadu government, whether it now why Tamil Nadu, the entire country, we need to focus on children who are economically and socially marginalized. How do you expect them? First of all, there are lots of dropouts. Thanks to COVID, also, a lot of them were pulled out of school, sent to work, etc., etc. Please, how would you like to, respond to what Dr. Maran said,
see.
that from class 6 to 7, no learning, only concentrating on the common entrance exam and the tutorials, the kind of money you have to pay to be ready. How does a person who's a farmhand afford the fee?
I respect the views of Dr. Maran, no doubt about that. Let's zero in on the issue. Dr. Maran seems to be seeing the matter at a macro level. When you talk about the commercialization of education, Tamil Nadu is a classic example. And there are many states where we have the commercialization of education. So let us not mix different issues right now. Right now, what is going to happen with the common entrance test? Here, the importance is being shifted from marks that the students will get at 10 plus for college admission. So here the importance is not being given to the marks. Let's understand that. And that is definitely a wise step, because we live in a multiple intelligence. It has been proved
Yeah,
time
Mr.
and
Gupta,
again.
but we have to look at it at the macro level also. And apart from the monies which will have to be spent to train oneself to sit for the common entrance, I understand. Parity is very good, equality is very good. Every kid sits for it. But then
That's only
what?
one point, ma'am. That's only one point. Point two that you have raised, and even Dr. Maran is referring to, they are very genuine ones, like the infrastructure. Because majority of the children come from the have-not society. Dr. Maran is raising a very pertinent point. But how can the education be the same when we have different curriculum? Let's understand that. We do not have a common curriculum, number one. Number two, children go to different schools and different schools have different infrastructures. We have different set of teachers. So definitely it is not something that we can expect. But point here today is this common entrance test going to be useful or not? Is it the right time for us to launch or not? That is the major issue that we should remain focused on. Definitely, there are some disadvantages, like infrastructure is not there in place. Children coming from backward places may not be in a position to take it head on. These are definitely challenges and they need to be addressed and looked into by the government. But I believe there is no particular time or the D-day for something to start. If the intention is good, if the objective is to unify the nation, even with regard to the language, Dr. Maran was telling, new education policy gives the prime of place to the mother tongue, which is definitely good. Anybody who learns a particular study in a mother tongue will be in a better position. So those issues have been dealt with appropriately by the new
Right,
education
right, right.
policy.
I've completely run out of time, but my thanks are due to both Mr. Braj Gupta as well as Dr. Maran for joining us on this broadcast, an extremely important issue.